control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the continuation of our Bedtime Stories from Beyond. It's just an everyday continuation. We never get tired of this. I got to fix that screen chat again, don't I? I keep forgetting, but I hope you guys are doing great. Had a great day today. I had the minion out and we were doing some raking. So, oh shoot, I did it wrong. Sorry. He was playing in the leaves and stuff. It was really cool. He's such a little flake, but he's diving in the leaf piles. And if you want to see the minion diving in the leaf piles, head over to my Brent Thomas page on Facebook. I posted some slow-mo videos, but word to the wise, turn off the sound because even a child's laughter when it's like moved into slow-mo, it's almost like some kind of demonic thing. It's like, Eesh. So leave the sound off, but enjoy the clip. It was cute. Copy and paste. There we go. Now it should be fixed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and hope you guys are having a brilliant day. I'm doing great today. Had a great day, great discussions with several people today, and feel like I'm just on top of the world. And that's a good place to be, I guess, rather than underneath it. But anyway, let's see. What do I got going on? Anything going on? Oh. New podcast released tomorrow. It's going to be a bunch of ghostly encounters. Just some really cool, weird ones that I found. I thought they were really interesting and some really good points. And on this video, I tried to do kind of similar to what we do here on the Bedtime Stories from Beyond, is going to a little dialogue about things. So I don't know. I'm just trying out new things, new ideas, making it a discussions and stuff. Now I did it alone. The podcast is alone. Don couldn't make it for this recording, which is too bad because I always like it when he's here and with me. But anyway, thank you, Five Hazel. I appreciate that. Yeah, he's a little adorable guy. He's such a beautiful heart, such a gentle soul, and I don't know what I did, but I got three wonderful children, but he's the youngest. He's the youngin', so the other ones are all old. They're all older now. They're little adults, or big adults, however the hell that works. But anyway, welcome to you all. Who's all here so far? I saw that people are just flying in the door. Sorry I got off to a little late start. I was just wrapping up the recording and getting that sent off to Don so that he can process it for the podcast. But let's just go through the list here and see who is with us. Five Hazels here, Beastly Bronco, Big Rob, 3080 or 300,080, Cameron F, Cha Cha, D Swagger, Big DJ Big Red, I Am Pam, Jeans Pretty Pups. That's a new name. I saw you when you came in, Jeans Pretty Pups, and I hope you're doing wonderful, and thank you so much. Christy Sci-Fi Gal, I watched your guys' video last night, by the way. That was really cool. I was glad to catch up with what you guys are doing, and those are some great discussions. I had to only give it like a partial of my attention because I was doing 5 other things, but I really thought you guys did a great job. Nice job, and it was cool to catch you guys live, so we'll have to catch up some more. Linda, Nessie Monsters here, Noli 420, Real Dill, Sasquatch Chronicles, our own Mr. Wes Germer is here. Smokin' Joe is here. Suzanne Page, The Rotman, Tracy Marshall, and of course our own Duke Sullivan. who's keeping an eye on things. He is the traffic cop of the chat, so he'll mind the store. But I hope you guys are all ready because it's time for bed. Oh, yeah, got to push buttons again, don't I? Yeah, I'm a rookie sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, but it depends on how distracted I am with other things in my mind. And tonight I'm a little bit distracted, but I think I still got a good show lined up for you. At least we'll find out in just a moment. But just to let you know, the phone lines are open. If you've had a paranormal encounter of your very own that you'd like to share with us on the show here, please feel free. 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. And that's always open during the show. I may not notice it right away, but I'll notice it eventually, so just bear with me. If you have an encounter you'd like to share but you don't want to be on the show, you can certainly email it to me, and I will share it with our audience at some point. And you can do that by emailing paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So very cool. All right, so I got some stories lined up for you guys. So hope you guys like them. Somebody call in. I have been banned. Yeah, if you missed the big reveal last night, or if you missed the introduction to the latest Sasquatch Chronicles episode, you'll know exactly what Wes is talking about. Let's see, I forgot. I'm sorry. Germer. Wait. Germer. So anyway, all right. I guess the actually, Wes, the chat room's a lot sharper than I am, because most of them said they had you pegged for being the culprit before I did. So that's awesome. Okay, so let's get underway here. We can start off in Michigan. I hope I didn't read this before. It was already open on my screen, so if I did, you're gonna hear it again. And with any good story, it's always good twice. So we'll find out. But the first story is Michigan. It says, when I was about 3, my grandmother lived in this big white house. I lived with her and my mom. My mom and I shared a room when my grandmother had her own room. And one night, my grandmother heard a voice say, oh, let me do this. Can you hear me now? I wonder if he worked for Verizon. Sorry. So she got scared and went downstairs to the couch. And the same night, a little later, my mother heard the same voice saying the same thing. She also went downstairs. A few days later, my grandmother and mother noticed me separating my toys into 2 piles and talking to the walls. And they told me that I told them that I had a brand new friend named Oh My Lord. I described her as wearing a blue party dress with long blonde curly hair and a big bow on her head. When we took trips up north, I used to point to the tops of the trees and say, she was there. And I asked a few neighbors about this history of the house, and I found out that a judge had built it a long time ago, and he had killed his daughter and shoved her body into the closet of my room. Ugh, that's horrible. While my grandmother was living there, her youngest son would have terrible night terrors, but only around me and the house. He continued having night terrors until he moved out and then he was fine. It was an every night thing with him. My family no longer lives there. A new family moved in, so I really can't give an update on anything. Yeah, it's always curious because sometimes, honest to God, some people will live in a house, or many people will live in houses in like a same house and never have any experiences. But there's something about individuals that seems that it can trigger paranormal activity to start taking off. And I don't know if it has to do with the individual's aura or their energy level or something, but there are some people who will move into a house that's always been quiet, and all of a sudden things will just start going sideways. And then when they're able to track the haunting, they found out all this real sordid history, but it had been dormant up until that point. So I'd be curious to know if the other people that lived in this house, which obviously we can't, but if other people that lived in this house also experienced those kind of events. Very cool. So, waiting for my computer to catch up. I clicked, got the little wheel spinning. Stand by, ladies and gentlemen, for my computer to actually respond. There we go. It responded. Ooh, here we go. This one has to do with music. Music, evil demon. Ooh, this one's coming from Indiana. It says, my name is Dan, and the story I'm about to tell you is very, very weird and scary to experience. This happened to me when I was about 11 years old. My family and I have lived in my house since I was 3 years old, and it's almost a 200-year-old house. Growing up, my brother Tommy was a big fan of death metal. I mean, he loved evil stuff. One day I was in my room watching TV, and all of a sudden I hear the song Raining Blood by Slayer going full blast in my brother's room. At that time, I was the only one home. Oh no, that's not good. Mom and Dad were working, and my brother was hanging out with friends. So here I am watching TV, and I hear the song come on full blast, so I thought my brother was home. I went in there to tell him to turn it down, but when I opened the door, I saw this demon-like creature on my brother's bed looking at me, and it had this huge smile on its face. When I looked at it, I froze. I wanted to move, but I couldn't, and then I just remember blacking out, and later on I woke up to my dad holding me, asking me what happened. I couldn't tell him because I was so confused. When I was about 13, I could finally tell him and my mom. My mom made me see a therapist, so I'm not sure what I saw was real, but all I can say is it felt very, very, very real. Wow. They sent him to a therapist. Now, I gotta admit that that's not always a bad thing, right? So there are plenty of mundane reasons people could see apparitions that have nothing to do with the paranormal. If there's some kind of chemical imbalance, if there's some kind of problem with the brain, maybe a disease taking root in the brain, or some other sensory issues. So I think that it is probably not a bad thing to rule out some medical things rather than running right for the exorcist. I think that you got to cover all the bases to be sure, but yeah, if the stereo turned on by itself, then it's not neurological. I mean, that's some creepy crap right there. But anyway, let's see what other creepy crap we can dig up here, because that's what we do here on the portal all night long, ladies and gentlemen. At least for the next roughly hour. Oh man, my computer is so slow. I had about 50 tabs open earlier, and I thought I closed a bunch of them, but I can see I got some more closing to do because it is really tired and trying to keep up with me. Let me just keep closing a few more of these so we can get a little bit more response out of my fine piece of internet mechanics. Sorry. I'm just looking at things, make sure I don't close the wrong thing, because I do have a lot of things open because I am working on them. Okay, so here we go. Pull up some more stories for you guys because that's how much I love you. This is not a 1 or 2 story kind of deal. This is a whole hour of paranormal fun. All right, I get a bunch of them open here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, so this one is coming from Michigan. I got family in Michigan. They could be very well listening, and they should be. If they love me, they're listening. I'm just saying. Let's see what's going on in Michigan. Many of you know that how would we know this? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. This is obviously referring to some backstory here, and I hate when they start out that way. So I'm trying to see how I can paraphrase this to make it flow better, but I'll just read it as is. Many of you know that my partner has gone through a great deal very recently. We had thought at one point that she would leave us, but she is still going strong and thanks the Great Spirit daily while singing in the day. Upwards 20 years ago, we met while working on a working farm market. A working farm market? I don't know what that means, but I worked in the fields. Oh, okay. I guess they're going to explain it. And she sold our goods. She was an excellent salesperson, and her charisma seemed to pull people into the store. But then her honesty is what brought them back. She was known for stopping a sale as it did not smell right to her. The meat did not look right, or etc., and she just could not seem to just push the sale through. She comes from a family much different than my own. She never lacked for anything while growing up and even had plenty left over to go around for those she so enjoyed helping. That was a sore spot with her parents, but she worked for what she gave away and would not be turned away from her heart. The field workers were not supposed to mingle with the store workers. We were of a different breed and not supposed to give off the image that would cause. But she was often out in the fields or in the break room with us. Talk about marching to the beat of a different drummer. We became fast friends, and when she met my family for the first time, it was she who took my arm and made the first step to walk to our lodge. I tried to hang back out of shame. I knew what her home looked like, and she was out of her class. When meeting with my family, she treated all of us as if we were special, and she had known them for years. I had to quit school very early to help support the family, and she was not affected by the squalor in which we lived. The road was a difficult one. She met with our medicine man, and she carried on conversations and shared her medicine with him. He was impressed. When I made the announcement that I would like to ask her father for her hand, all of them erupted into a war field of fear. The family knew years before I even hinted it to her what my intentions were. When I told her that the ways dictated that she would have to leave her family and live as mine for a period of no less than 1 year in order to see the intent of my heart, she readily accepted it. We set her up in a hunter's cabin, 1 room, no bathroom, no running water, none of the luxuries of men, on the edge of the land, and left her alone. Wow, that's pretty hardcore. Strange lights would crackle and rise from her fires. Conversations were heard when we knew she was alone. She went out every day in search of herbs and other medicines that she was prevented from purchasing, and she learned quickly and always with a smile on her face. The final step was a month in the lodge of the medicine man. As a female, she would be expected to help out should there be a medical need. What we had found out was that at times her medicine was just as strong, if not more so, than his. On her own, she knew exactly when to thank the Great Spirit, when to silently wait, and when to try again. Her healing songs were strong, and we had never before seen such strength from one not of our ways. At the end of her trial, she was asked one question. This is when we knew her heart. She was asked what her reason for going forward was. Why was it that she got up every morning and did all of these things that she was seen doing, knowing that she would receive no reward? Her answer was a simple one. She said that when things got tough, the ancestors carried her. She explained that she had been visited on several counts by the old ones, and especially when she was in need of help that she knew she could not ask for. She said that earthly rewards were not what she was striving for, and there was a greater purpose, and someday when she looked the horseman in the face, she would know if she passed or failed. The next April, we were married, and she became my warrior. At the ceremony, she received her path name, one that only she feels does not quite fit, and the skies lit up with what can only be described as the northern lights would be. A rainbow of flickering colors that were seen too far away from the North Pole to actually be them. The ceremonial fires spit sparks that represented the ancestors visiting, and the owls stood silent for just one night. This may not sound like a ghost story in the means that most of these are, but I would submit that it is a spiritual story, one in which the spirits of the elders brought to me and taught for us a beautiful woman who has much medicine and lives between the realm on a daily basis. She walks with the spirits and is taught by all they have to offer, all while asking for absolutely nothing. Wow, that's a beautiful story. Huh. That is really amazing. I guess I learned a bunch from this, but that's really amazing. I'm gonna have to save that one. Definitely going to bookmark that one. A very strong story. I hope you guys like that. Let's move along here. Okay. This one's Kentucky. Heading over to Kentucky. My mother, sister, and I recently went on a weekend trip to a private lake front cabin. For the most part, it was a great trip. Although I didn't get much sleep that night. Both nights of our stay, we heard several noises such as knocking, creaking, and footsteps in the loft and on the deck. I had a very unsettling feeling at night. I took several photos of the trip and was amazed when I uploaded them to my PC upon my return. I'm still trying to prove to myself that the images are no more than camera flaws or something. Trust me, I don't want to believe that they're of actual ghosts. So anyone that sees them is far more than welcome to tell me if they think that I'm making something out of nothing. The owner of the cabin wrote an autobiography about his life, and I read it while I was there. He mentioned in the book about his cabins on the lake, and I was kind of freaked out to read that several people have chosen to spend the end of their lives at these cabins, and some have had their ashes spread out in the lake and on the property. Also, they say that there's an ancient Indian dwellings on the property that you can find while hiking on the many trails. Kind of makes one wonder, huh? So anyone that sees the photos, please tell me what your take is on them. After the first photo where I noticed a face in the sliding doors, I decided to zoom in on some and see if I could see something more than what it first appears. I swear I've not doctored any of these photos. I took them with a digital camera. The flash was not used, and the photos taken outside. Okay, so there are several photos here, and I guess we'll look at them. I don't know how big I can make them because they are attached to this, but let's see what we can do here. I'm getting it all queued up. Oh no, that's tiny. Okay. Well, I guess I'll put them up. Looks like it was a very old digital camera, and I think this story is from 2008. It says so. That kind of stands to reason. But here is the first image, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, he circled it, so obviously it looks like there could be a figure standing there, but with that resolution, it's really hard to tell. It's very, very pixelated, but possibly. What is this one? Oh, that's kind of creepy. That one is a little creepy. I think it's still probably some kind of matrixing, but it does actually simulates what could be considered a full figure. But here's the thing. Again, it's not the focus part of the photo, so a lot of this is already blurry in here, and this is not a lot different from this over here. So you can tell that this top part is just one of these leaves, and that's just the stalk. But this dark part is a little different here. I don't know. It may be, but nothing extraordinarily solid. But still, it's curious. May very well be. Well, that looks really creepy. I'm not sure what we're looking at though. It's extraordinarily zoomed in. It does look like a face, like a screaming face or something. Kind of looks like the Joker. To me, there's an eye, what appears to be a nose, and what would appear to be a mouth. I guess it could be a woman with glasses too. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe. Let's go to the next one. Oh, really? Seriously? I'm not going to make any claims off of that. That's just too small, way too small. Even though he circled it, I'm not really seeing what he believes is there. Of course, there's a lot of light, wispy stuff going on here. I don't know if that's a screen or if it's out of focus branches that are much closer to the camera. I don't know what we're looking at here, but could just be reflections of branches from outside. But this looks really crisp, like a reflection of a window, of another window. There's a gutter spout there, so I assume this is outside. It looks like a gutter spout anyway. But I don't know. I don't know what this person is suggesting may be depicted here, but I don't see anything that looks too peculiar. Actually, this over here looks more like a long hair and a face with blue eyes, more so than anything I see over here. I mean, could that be an a little bitty head? I don't know. I don't know. Again, I think it's probably pareidolia, but I don't know. Just throwing it out there. You guys can certainly come to your own conclusions. I'm not trying to claim to be definitive on this, but these kind of photos are very, very ambiguous, and it's kind of up to the person to come to their own conclusion. But nothing too fantastic as far as I can see. But I wasn't there, and I don't have the originals. These are just extraordinarily low resolution copies. So whenever you save things, if you take a JPEG and then copy and save and copy and save and copy and save, you're going to lose a bit of resolution every time. So I don't know how many generations this is away from the actual what I assume to be memory card that captured it, but it does get harder and harder as generations are made from original source, and then generations are made of those copies, and so on and so forth. But I mean, this is apparently the person that took the pictures. So, but I don't know. It looks like the website doesn't provide real high resolution photos to be on their site. So cool, though. I think it's very cool. It's very possible, but again, I can't make any judgments off of what I'm seeing here. But I hope you enjoyed it all the same. I'm going to close that. Welcome back, Dee. Good to see you. Okay. Here's the next one. This one's coming. Is it really? This should be the next one. There we go. All right. This is coming from North Carolina. North Carolina. How many in here? 59. There's a lot more of you here than when I did the roll call earlier. So welcome everybody else that's come in since then. Disco Duck, good to see you. Multitasking dude, that's it. Sweetie. A Dracula zombie in a trash bag poncho tilted to the right. Is that what your summation of those photos was? Bob-tacular? That's pretty hilarious. Dracula zombie. Oh, that's clever. Well played. All right. So to everyone else that haven't, Anxiety Talks, hello. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming into the show. Bell Prepper, good to see you as well. And anyone else I might have missed. 30 to 62. Hit the like button. Yeah, hit the like button. Everybody, all together now. Like. All right, let's continue on. I got some more stories here for you. So, again, for any of you that have come in since we opened the show, if you have a paranormal encounter of your very own and would like to share it on the show, please feel free to call in 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500. Okay. All right, so we're going to North Carolina in this story. Let's see what's going on. And if you're new to here and you want to say hello to everybody, then you'll find that our chat room is about the greatest chat room on the internet. And I know I'm extraordinarily biased, but I've done a lot of chatting in my years, and I've never seen such a place as this. And I can't take any credit for it either. All these wonderful people found us and found me, so then they've just made it their home. So thank you guys for being here, everybody. Okay, so North Carolina, I should start reading now. I'd like to start off by saying that I've been visiting for a while into these threads and held off on submitting my stories because of the fear I still feel in some parts of my house I used to live in, which my parents still live in. I am 35-year-old mother of 3 wonderful children between the ages of 14 and 6, and I've been very happily married for 12 years, and I'm very grounded, and my interest in the paranormal began when I was just a child because of this house. It was built in 1870 by the Matthews family. It's located in Gastonia, North Carolina, in the York-Chester historical area. When we moved in, I was 7, and the huge Victorian house/mansion was really intimidating to me. It's 3 stories with a full attic that runs the length of the house. If you count the attic technically, it could be considered 4 stories. My friends used to be scared of the house because of At each end of the attic, the windows had the Amityville type of windows. And I didn't understand their fear until I saw the movie at age 13. Anyhow, the attic was another story. The bottom story of the house used to house the servants' quarters. In fact, when we first moved in, there were still metal horse stalls in place in the outside part of the basement where the carriage was kept. The basement consisted of this outer part, which is still separate from the inside basement by two heavy metal doors that slide open and shut on a roller-type metal track from the top. This inside part of the basement consisted of a large tub and butcher shower and a sink in the back door, a sink at the back door with a small root cellar type of storage place that was built into the ground, a tool room, servants' rooms, and the dreaded furnace room. I never liked this room, as there was and still is a very heavy, malevolent feeling in there. It has an old-type coal chute where I would guess a slave would stand in there and shovel coal into the furnace. The chute is still there, but the furnace was replaced a long time ago, which is good. Yeah, I'm sure it was really efficient, that old coal burner. It's a very small room, and if I was sent to get something, I felt like something was trying to suffocate me and would try to get out as fast as I could. This room is hardly ever used or gone into except for things like Halloween decorations, lounge chairs, and some tools my dad put in there. And the very last time I ever went into that room was to get the Easter baskets for my mom. And I was 19, but she still liked to make us baskets. That's cute. As soon as I entered, the presence was there, evil and oppressing. I felt like it was bearing down on me more than ever before and found it hard to take a breath. So without the baskets, I ran out of the furnace room and practically leapt for the stairs in terror. As soon as I crossed the threshold of the furnace room, I heard a loud bang as my foot hit the first step. I jumped at the noise and turned to see my father's axe come down right as I was running through the doorway. Oh, Jesus. No, I did not touch it or brush it or anything. That axe has been in the same spot for over a decade without any disturbance. I ran up those stairs like evil itself was after me and have never gone into that room again. I was not the only one disturbed by the furnace room. Just about everyone who ever entered had the unfortunate task to have to go in there, came out shaken and scared. There were a few deaths there, but I don't know who they were except Mrs. Matthews herself when she fell down the stairs from the top floor into the foyer, but that's another story. I hope this wasn't too long, and I appreciate you listening. Well, that's creepy as hell. I mean, if there's an axe being thrown, that's all kinds of wrong. Jeez, that's time to get some help. I don't know. If you're not calling an exorcist into a house by that point, you need to. And I'm not saying it's a demon, but it's definitely a dark presence. And it needs to get gone. That's not the kind of thing you want to leave in your house for any reason. It's time to be evicted. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is California. One late evening, not so long ago, my son and I were watching a Ghost Hunters marathon on TV. Needless to say, we were already spooked, but we didn't dare turn to another channel, as this episode was the one of the better ones. And we were cuddled together on the couch, relaxing in our PJs. Other than the light emanating from the TV, we were in complete darkness. The first noise we heard went almost unnoticed, and I quickly dismissed it as the sound of a neighborhood cat prowling around our front deck, searching for a mouse or cricket to snack on. Then we heard another noise, and yet another, and each one louder than the first. Was it really a cat? Maybe it was a lot of cats, or perhaps even a mountain lion. I live in the desert outside of the city limits. There was no wind that night, not even a breeze. I could lay any blame on. And it couldn't have been one of the dogs, as they were in the backyard, in their kennels, sound asleep. Could it have been a stray dog who wandered onto their property? No, as I had shut and locked the main gate before sundown. Well, what could it be? In less than a minute since hearing the first noise, my son and I simultaneously jumped off the couch. We were both literally shaking in our pants. My front deck is raised a few feet off the ground, and it's quite large, about 12 by 12 feet. Whatever had stepped onto my front deck was gaining strength. It sounded like a rumble, an earthquake, a storm, a stampede, whatever was outside making all that noise was massive. Not a dog, nor a cat, whatever it was, had just now crashed against the door with a lot of force. This was the moment that I wished I had taken my father's advice and bought a shotgun to keep in case of emergencies. I'm currently not married, so situations like these fall into my lap by default. My son grabbed onto me and asked me what was making all that noise. I don't know, was all I could manage to say. I could have easily opened the blinds in the living room window to peer out into the front deck to find out who or what was at my door. However, I didn't want to let whatever it was know that there was anyone inside shaking in their pajamas. A shot of adrenaline surged through me, and Supermom emerged. I grabbed my cell phone from the table, grabbed my son, and ran into his room. From his room, I could peer outside his window on the cover of darkness and find out what was going on outside. What I saw was unbelievable. It was a stampede, all right, a goat stampede to be more precise. My goats, Maddie, Lucy, Sissy, Blondie, and Ricky, had somehow opened their pen and decided to pay my son and I a late-night visit. As we spied them for a few minutes, Ricky raised up on his hind legs and crashed against the door with his front legs in hope of getting our attention. Perhaps they wanted a late-night snack. The others were scampering around my front deck with no care in the world. Well, I was more relieved than angry at them, and I went outside and took one by the collar, and the rest followed in line back into their pen, and that was enough of their shenanigans for one night. Luckily, we managed to catch the rest of the Ghost Hunters episode before it ended. The moral of my story is that no matter how paranormal your circumstances may be, it could still very well have a natural explanation. Wonderful. Well, that at least it's a good ending. I mean, it's not the ending I would have preferred for the sake of the show, but when you hear of a woman and a child alone in a house and being terrorized, that's a good ending. I like that. It's a happy ending. We all need those. All right, we're going to go to Oklahoma. Anything going on? Am I missing anything? What's going on? All right, so Oklahoma. All right, my name is Bailey. I'm 15 years old, and this is my story. I was at my grandparents' house in Oklahoma, and my family and I were all going out to eat. We were all loaded up in the car except for my grandpa. So I ran back to the house to get him, and when I got into the living room, I called down the hall for him, and he said that he was in the bathroom. He'd be out in just a few, and I also asked for me to wait for him as I turned around, and I thought I saw somebody move really quickly. But I just blew it off thinking my bangs just got in the way or something. Well, while I waited, I picked up my camera and decided to take random pictures, and I took one with a hand under my chin, and I was kind of looking up. What? I took one with my hand under my chin, and I was kind of looking up, and after I took it, I looked at the picture, and there was a transparent figure beside me. It looked like a little girl, but you could not see her face, only half of her body. You can perfectly see where her sleeve ended and the arm began, and she looked like she was holding something wooden, and she was wearing a white dress with ruffles. When I realized what I was looking at, I screamed and ran out of the room, and I showed my grandmother, and she said that 2 pictures must have just overlaid. But I have a Sony CyberShot digital camera. With digital cameras, the pictures cannot overlay. This happened several weeks ago, and hardly anyone believes me. Just my cousin and my aunt. My mom seems like she believes me, but she just will not admit it. I don't know what this was or how it got there, because no one has ever died in my grandparents' house. I do not know what is going on in my grandparents' house or whether it's good or evil. I only know what I have on my camera. Yeah, and that's a boatload of creepy. You got a boatload of creepy on that camera. All right, so let's continue on. How are we doing for time here? Let me see. Got to see how long we've been at it. 40 minutes. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, now we're heading to Florida, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what's going on in Florida. This is the second time I've had an experience like the one I'm about to tell you. Strange things seem to happen around or close to my birthday. Yesterday, August 4th, was my birthday, so it's no surprise to me that I had this experience this morning. I awoke early this morning at around 6:30 a.m. and heard my husband get up and get ready for work and to drop off my daughter for her ride to volleyball practice at school. Yeah, school has not started officially, but she attends private school, and they require practice and conditioning at times when other kids are off for holidays and breaks and such. I heard them leave the house, and I tried to drift back to sleep, and now I'm in that state that is still awake and aware and just about to fall into sleep, and I hear some noise, and I think my husband has returned, and I'm wondering why. I then feel a presence lay down beside me in my bed, and I'm aware of feeling paralyzed. I can't move. All I can do is ask him what happened. No response. Suddenly, I don't feel anyone near me, and I'm able to move again. As I mentioned before, this is the second time that I've felt someone holding me and a feeling of being unable to move. I searched the web looking for other people that have had this type of experience and have not found any. I wonder if it is a family member that has passed on. If anyone out there can shed some light on this for me, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, that's, I mean, it sounds like sleep paralysis. I don't know why she wasn't able to find any information about it, but is it spiritual related or medical? Well, she's feeling someone hold her first, then sounds spiritual to me. I wonder how that works. How can they freeze people like that? What kind of the part that I don't like about that is that it seems to be a very intrusive act. Even though it may not be malicious, it's still incredibly intrusive. And I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good thing. But I guess it's up to the individual in the situation. But I think, I've been through sleep paralysis for a long time. I had about 2 years where I was dealing with it. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Nearly every night. It was at least several times a week. And it was such a terrible, terrible feeling to be just kind of stuck. And I remember that feeling of desperation, just like wanting to, even just to nudge the person next to me in bed, just to hope that they would go, hey, what's going on? And maybe shake me and get me out of it. But it's just that you feel just stuck. And it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling. So I think I learned how to get out of it, though, because once I learned how to break it, then it was fine. It happened several more times, but then finally quit. But I had to continually break my way out of it. And once I had that figured out, and then I got to the point where I could feel it starting to happen and I could break it before it started. So I think that for me was really the key. Once I got that figured out, then it wasn't an ongoing issue for me. But it was plenty creepy. It's just horrible to be stuck and to, feel like someone is there just doing whatever the hell they're doing. But horrible. Okay, this is going to Pennsylvania now. It says, it was a very early morning in northern Pennsylvania. I was at a log cabin in the woods about 3 miles in from the closest road, and I've been to this cabin many times over a period of years, and I've always had a feeling I couldn't describe when there, but didn't give it too much thought. I just figured it was the simple unexpectedness that the woods give to people who respect what lives in them. Near this cabin was an old clear cut from a logging company that went belly up. My friends and I set up a fire ring in the middle where we used to sit, cook, and drink. And the morning of my experience, though, I was sober as a bird. I exited the cabin to smoke a cigarette up on the stoop in front. I lit my cigarette and looked up at the clear cut, and standing in the middle of the clear cut was a perfect outline of a man. It was all black, and when I saw it, I felt a feeling of despair that I've never felt before in my life. I wanted to run. I didn't, though. Not because I couldn't, but because I wanted to stay. I called to my friend in the cabin, and he came out and asked me and that's all he got out because he saw the figure too. This made me feel great because I knew I wasn't losing my mind, but at the same time, I felt the worst dread ever because I knew the figure was real. At this point, the figure let out what I can only describe as a growl. See, I was thinking, is this a Sasquatch story? A lot of times people default to ghost, but this sounds like a Sasquatch kind of thing, and I'm sure they probably don't appreciate clear cuts in their domain. So I say that because we both felt the growl rather than heard it, and I'm familiar with that feeling. My friend and I both ran for the Jeep at this time, and we got in and drove off. And just to let you know how freaked out we were, I drove 140 miles while speeding, and I didn't have my license at this time. That morning will be with me until the day that I die. We never went back to the cabin after that. We sold it to a group of hunters who now use it for a deer camp. One day I want to talk to one of them to find out if they have ever seen the dark figure too. Yeah, see, to me that sounds completely like a Sasquatch thing. Or I suppose it could be a Dogman thing as well, but it doesn't sound as spiritual. I don't know if the only thing this person isn't saying is the size of the figure. And maybe they weren't able to tell how far away or close it was. But, yeah, I mean, oh, man. And the growl, that's like, sounds 100% Sasquatch to me. But who knows? I wasn't there. You guys good? Everything going good? Everybody having fun? Love you forever too, Duke. I'm not sure you're saying that to me, but I thought I'd just get into the love because I love me some love. Okay, Michigan. Back to Michigan again. I remember the first few years of moving into my new home with my mom and my brother. The home in modern home haunting. The home in modern home haunting. Is that another? That must be another encounter name. I always experienced terrifying experiences that no one ever seemed to believe that were happening. Me and my family weren't a religious types, but I am certainly a believer of another world out there, for that world tries to speak to me all the time. One of the things my mom one time my mom took me to the doctors because she thought I needed medication to calm myself down. Even though I can already be a stressful person, she didn't think I was acting normal. I still switched back between parents' houses and so I wouldn't endure the torture all the time. One time I almost experienced a possession with horrible nightmares and blackouts. I wasn't sure what was real or not. The spirits in my home had me thinking I was insane at one point and that maybe the only way out was a suicide. I never turned to any self-mutilation because I knew I was stronger than that and I was stronger than the spirits haunting my home. I always had one companion ghost, though. His name is Ashes, like literally Ashes. When my parents first got separated, awful things were happening in my life and talked to absolutely no one for a while. And I told the air that I needed somebody here with me. Just that day, I picked up a pen and pad and started to draw and write. It was a picture of a white wolf with black on one side of his fur, and he told me his name was Ashes. He used to be a massive white wolf that died in a fire, which I found interesting because all of my life I was so scared of fire, which included the stove, the oven, bonfires, fire on television, anything that was hot. He followed me wherever I went and comforted me, and we grew to have a strong bond. Ashes was always there to be right beside me and trying to protect me from the other spirits at my mom's house. I remember the scariest time at my mom's house was when the powerful spirits were able to block my connections with him for a while. And after a while, I was convinced that Ashes wasn't even there and that I had no hope in my life. The overwhelming sadness in this house seemed to complement the overall feeling of misery as my mom was having a hard time taking care of her emotional well-being. The haunting started off playfully, though, so I thought it was ashes trying to brighten my mood. For he was such a noble jokester. Things would go missing in the house for no apparent reason. The disappearing items became such a nuisance, my mom and my brother felt some need to blame it on someone, and I was the person to blame because I always brushed off the missing items thinking it was ashes. When I started to get into trouble for missing things, I thought that he would apologize and stop, and he didn't. I remembered my awful experience when I was down in the basement, alone when we first looked at the house, and I shivered. Maybe the spirits in the basement were doing this. From the experiences got stronger and a bit more intimidating. Now I know better than to assume spirit activity is a positive, playful one from ashes, and I've learned that spirits can be deceiving and can be cynical if you're not careful. All comments are welcome. This is a strange one. This is a strange story, and not that there couldn't be an animal spirit with this person. I fully believe that that's possible. That that we have, whether you call them like a totem animal or an animal guide. It doesn't matter the definition. I think that those can definitely be present, but I don't understand. It sounds like this person created the presence with the wolf anyway, just created it out of sheer need to have something. No, that doesn't mean it can't be real. It could be a tulpa of some sort, a thought form that becomes a conscious entity of its own. I believe that we probably create those all the time, to be honest with you. But very, very strange. I don't know. The story seems a little bit off, but I don't know. That's just me coming from the hip on this. I just don't know enough of the story, I guess. You'll have to tell me what you guys think. There's somebody in here called the Dude. Hey, the Dude. Welcome. Welcome, the Dude. That's cool. Disco Duck is here. That's cool. Mogion. Glad you made it, Mogion. Oh, Don's in here. How you doing, Don? Good to see you. Marilena Bonavita. Wonderful. Anybody else? Lisa Rue. Is that Bun Bun, Lisa Rue? I'm just kidding. Too many names. Oh, yeah. More buffering. Is it buffering for you guys? I got green here. I got green on all my connection icons, so I'm thinking I'm okay. Are you guys experiencing buffering out there? I'm sorry if you are. All right, I think I got 2 more to read here, so let me get through these 2, and that'll be the end of our journey. Yes, Brent. Brent. I'm Brent. I guess that'll work. Oh, Sooner Squatch 74, how you doing? Good to see you. Elaine, hello. Gentry, Coda, hello. Just looking at the names as they pop up. I don't know if Wes stuck around or not. We must have left. Okay, so let's go to Ohio. This is the second story that I've posted. To be honest, I'm not even completely sure if what I'm about to type was truly a paranormal experience, but I have my theory. My husband and I have been living in the same apartment complex for about 2 years now. Nothing paranormal has happened. I don't think my apartment is haunted. However, I have had strange things happen a few weeks ago. And I'm usually a restless sleeper. My husband can tell you. I've heard him a few times. I wake up a lot in the middle of the night. However, when this happens, I usually just roll over and go back to sleep. No problem. Well, one night a few weeks ago, a Sunday night, I woke up at 3 a.m. I woke up with the most terrifying fear and had no idea what I was afraid of. But I was so frightened I couldn't even close my eyes to attempt to go back to sleep. I was seriously about to cry. But I didn't want to wake up my husband. What would I say to him? So I just laid awake for an hour, and finally around 4, I was able to put my horrible feelings aside and go back to sleep. Now, nothing supernatural happened during this hour. I was just so afraid. I thought maybe I was just being a scaredy cat and tried not to think about it the next day. But however, it happened again the next night, and then the night after that. The Thursday night of that week was the first night that it didn't happen, and it hasn't happened since. It wasn't until last week that I searched the internet to see if 3 a.m. had meaning. Yes, it does. I thought that it did, but wasn't sure, and the internet said it was the devil's hour. So I'm thinking that maybe it has something to do with my faith. I've been a Christian since I was a child, and I used to be very devout. I went to church every Sunday, even though I was the only one in my house that went. I prayed constantly, read the Bible every night. Somewhere between then and now, I fell away. I mean, I'm still a Christian, but I changed. I rarely make it to church now, and I feel obligated to read the Bible. I cuss occasionally, and I get drunk, etc. Well, I've been feeling guilty, and lately I've been trying to get back to where I was to live for God. And I've always heard that Satan will come after you when you're doing things like that because he doesn't want you to succeed. Granted, nothing horrible happened these nights, but the fear I had was immense and came from nowhere. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but maybe not. Well, yeah, it's called the devil's hour, or the witching hour. I mean, there's many names for it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's, primarily an evil time of day. It just, there's those that say, oh, it's the mocking of the Trinity and stuff. Well, I don't know. If you look at daylight savings time and all that stuff, time changes, and I don't think it's really that. I just think that it may be the time in the biorhythm of the day, because I believe that, everything has a biorhythm. And it may be this a natural fluctuation time where that spiritual energy is just ramped up. I don't think it's nefarious. I don't think that that's when the evil takes over for an hour. It's just, I believe that maybe there's just more spiritual energy available for spirits to utilize to do things that they may do. I know that in paranormal investigating circles, 3 a.m. is really the hot spot. That's the time when allegedly there's more activity to be captured. But I don't think it's an evil time of day or anything like that. I don't subscribe to such thoughts. This is a quick, short one, and this will be our last one for the night. So let's see what we find here. Okay, Ohio is where we're going. The following, oh no, it's a video. It's not, we can't do this one. Yeah, I can't do this one. Yeah, there's no video included anyway. It's just a reference of a video with an EVP on it, but there is none, so we'll skip that one. I'll see if I'll open up the next one here. Hopefully it's a quick little one. And it's not too bad. We'll read this one and we'll be done. This is from Hawaii. Oh, that's cool. We don't get a lot of them from Hawaii. A couple of years back when I lived with my parents, I used to hear knocking every so often in my room. I'd be in there with the door closed doing whatever at the time, and this would always happen when I was on my bed and would always sound like it was coming from the exact same spot. It was about 3 feet above my bed and about a foot from the left of the window, and it sounded crystal clear, like someone was knocking on my side of the wall. And not on the outside of the house, as it would have made it sound more hollow. At first, it really freaked me out, and then I just couldn't stay in my room. After the first time, I looked around the house, the outside of the house, to see if it was a tree branch, since the yard was adjacent to the mango grove, and we also had a straggly dying tree near that wall of the house. And turned out there were no branches that could have reached that part of the wall, and the straggly tree was too dead and a bit too far to reach it either. The next time it happened was a bit after the first time, and I just listened and then tried to take in what sounded like and I tried to take in what it sounded like and what else was going on. My father, brother, and our dog were outside, but they were on the outside side of the yard by the garage, and I could hear the difference from them being off in the distance and the knocking that seemed to be coming from my side of the wall. My mom and sister were in the living room watching some program. I figured then that no one or object was doing it. Excuse me. The knockings always seemed to stop and let me get on with life, forgetting it even happened. And one night I was talking to my then boyfriend on the phone when it happened again. I mentioned it to him, and I'm not sure if he could hear it too. I'm not even sure if he believed me, though. At that point, I'd gotten used to it and would just look up, wait for it to stop, and continue my business. I'd say that it always happened at night, but that one time where my father and brother were outside was during the day. I think that was the only day incident, though. Okay, well, knocking is definitely an oddity. Could be paranormal, ladies and gentlemen. But I guess that's going to wrap it up. So, Lane Lair, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Boo to you. Julia. Julia's in here. Good to see you, Julia. I missed you. You go out and do some field research with me, and then you ditch me. But it's great to see all of you guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. I want to see how many 65 of you are in here. So that's what my counter's showing. So thank you so much. I'd appreciate it if you would like and share the videos as they come up. That would be lovely. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, tomorrow the new podcast will be out. It'll be available after midnight tonight, but I hope it's a good one. I like doing it, but I hope you guys find it interesting as well. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow night with more of the bedtime stories, so I hope you guys will join me then. And I bid you all a fine, wonderful good evening, and I will be back again real soon. I'll be waiting here 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to read you more bedtime stories from beyond. So I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody, and sweet dreams.